Now I'm just going to take you through a couple of the cameras that are set up in the scene. What I've done here, we've set up 4 cameras in this scene. So what I've done here is I've turned on the camera layer and I've turned off the sun layer. What I also do when I'm working with the cameras is I set the selection filter to cameras. This means that when I'm clicking around here, it doesn't select any of the geometry. I can only select cameras and their targets. This is quite useful. When we're working with the cameras, what you can do is right click into one of the viewports and right click up here and set your camera view to actually show up in one of the viewports. In this file, the camera upper path and the camera water are the eye height cameras. The top one is just the one that you need to use for your sun shadow diagrams, and the overview is the one that's sort of up in the sky. What we'll do to begin with actually is we'll set the camera overview, and that's the easiest one to kind of think about. Now, when we look here, you can actually those little camera icons won't render, but this is what this view is going to look like. Now we need to be careful not to zoom. You can't zoom with the middle mouse button in here anyway, but you also don't want to pan while this is in camera view, because that will actually make changes to your camera view. The best way to make the changes to the camera view, let's say my ramp came out this way, is to try and select the camera. So when I hover over it, it tells me that that's camera overview. And I'm going to make changes to it with the move tool. Now the cameras are made up of 2 parts. They have a camera, then there's a line that connects it to the target point. The target point is what you're looking at, the camera is what you're looking from. I'm going to select this, and imagining that my ramp came over this side, I'm just going to go to the move tool, and in the plan view I'm going to move this camera around, all the way around to the other side. Now that one's a relatively easy one. You can just drag it in and out to make sure that it's kind of looking at the right height, and you've sort of included most of your ramp in there. In this sense, I'm going to move this one back to here because this is really the right location for it. So that's what you can do, how you can move and manipulate your overview camera. I'm just going to hide that camera for now because we don't need to see it, by going hide selection. The cameras I do want you to be careful of, and I'm just going to click into the right view for a moment. This one is the, I'll just hover over it for a minute, is the upper path, and this one down here is the camera from the water. What's important about trying to keep the perspective right is that the camera and the target are at the same height. So what I can do, if I had moved one of these things, let's say I had moved the target down, actually we'll just come down here and set this camera to my path. And I'm going back in here and moving this target around. You will get some quite strange things happening, and it's quite hard to put people into a 2-point perspective. So it is good to keep them at the same height. click on the camera, it's 13.874. Just select that and go to Control C. I can then right click on the camera, select camera target, and Control V to get the target and the camera back up to the same height. Now I'm looking down here in this camera viewport, and I'm not that happy with it. You know, it's not a great perspective. So what I'm thinking I'd like to do is to try and move this camera around to a better location to pick up more of my ramp. So in this circumstance, I'm going to try and move this camera onto the patio of the building. What I'll do is just move the camera first, all the way over to the patio of the building, something like that. And I'll just maximise that viewport. And as you can see, that updates in the camera viewport down here. I might also want to move the target so that, unfortunately I've got a bit of a funny thing happening with the preview, but we'll see how we go. So it moves over here a bit. Now when I click on this camera, it tells me that it's still up at 13.8754. But I actually know, and I'm going to maximise this viewport for a moment, I know that the patio that I'm looking from is, we may as well look from this, look from the ramp, just meeting the building here. I know that that's at around about 5.5. So I'm just in my transform type in, I'm going to bring the camera down. And obviously I need to do the same thing to my target by selecting it and bringing that down to 5.5. Let's have a look at what that looks like in the camera view. Okay. What that's done is my camera is kind of underground now. So I'm going to go into the right, and you'll notice that when I move into the right, the X and this is X and Y is the Z transfers over. So I'm going to just move it up slowly. Until it feels like the camera is at the ground level. It's a bit hard to tell with the funny things going on. Okay, so that's now looking, we can see that this renders kind of looking more at the ramp rather than at the building. Excuse me. I can now make some minor adjustments to this by using a tool that's underneath. I have to right click into the camera view, and then I can access a tool that's just underneath the pan button here, which is a little feet. And these are a walkthrough, which is just like the first person shooter in a game. And this tool here is the field of view. So just to demonstrate the field of view, I can bring that down a bit. I'm dragging it in towards me. And what that's doing is it's changing the size of the lens of the camera. So this was a 35mm camera, and as I've brought that field of view in a bit to get a little bit more sight, you can see that the lens is going down. That's pretty close to a 24mm lens. It's probably good to keep it to a standard lens, so you can just click on the 24mm lens. Now to use the walkthrough, what you can do is hold down your left mouse button and drag left and right, and that will turn your head. You can sort of look around a bit more, and you can also use the arrow keys to walk forward and backwards and left and right. So this is not looking